From Bold Gold Studios in the beautiful Liberty Theater building, this is another episode of Eye On Sullivan. I am Mike McGuire. I am your show's host, and I'm joined today, as I am each week, by the chairman, Rob Doherty. Rob, good afternoon.
How are we doing today, Michael?
We are doing great. And Rob, today we're going to take you back to your roots. You grew up in the Bronx.
I did.
All right. And I believe that you attended St. Raymond's High School.
High school for boys, yes.
And did they have a sports program there?
Yeah, they had a little one there, yeah.
Oh, I'd say it has a sports program, and you were involved in that.
A little bit.
You played a little basketball?
I did, a little bit.
Occasionally on the diamond?
Yeah, once in Blue Moon.
My understanding is that you were quite accomplished at trash talking.
I'm pretty good at it, yes.
Well, today we're going to talk Sullivan County trash.
Well, that's a lot to talk about.
Well, there is. So, right now, we're in the last budget cycle, in the budget that we're now living
Correct.
under, the legislature increased the cost of trash collection and trash disposal for everyone in the county.
By a lot. Okay,
Right.
so I just want to back up here.
Sure.
So in November, they had upped it by, I believe, it was $10 at that time. And then in the budget hearing, they then upped it for a total of $30. And the reason behind that was they were saying that they had gotten an increase from Seneca Meadows, where we, take our trash 5 hours in a truck, dump it onto a pile, which creates methane gas, as we all know is 84 times more damaging than carbon, and then we drive that truck back. They increased us by $10 a ton and $1 hook. The hook part is the part that you and I negotiated so that we can, so that MBI, that's who carries our trash up the road, could get more runs in a day and have to hire less workers and be able to keep up with our growing trash needs. They drop a trailer, then they grab an empty trailer, and they leave. They used to have to wait in line. So you and I negotiated a deal that they're allowed to leave the trailer there, and so that's the hook, right? So that's it's $10 and $1. So Seneca Meadows upped our trash costs as a county by $11. This legislature upped our cost by $30, basically stealing $1.9 million from the people of Sullivan.
All right. So what we just did was we showed our audience the present.
Correct.
And the present was delivered around Christmas time
Yeah.
by the Grinch, who is our legislature.
Correct.
And they subsumed a $11 increase with a $30 supplement.
Correct.
All right. Let's go back to the beginning so our audience can understand how we got into this pile of trash mess that we're in now.
And this was another legislature, about 4 of them ago, or maybe 5 of them ago. And it started, I believe, Chris Cunningham was the chair at the time.
Right.
Okay.
So what a lot of folks in our audience may not understand is that Sullivan County does not have a landfill.
Oh, we do own a landfill. It's filled with garbage
And capped.
that we lost money on.
Correct. So we've got a capped landfill, and at one time, probably 10, 15 years ago now, the county considered expanding that landfill.
Correct.
And the county expended a considerable amount of time and resources getting a permit to enable the county to expand that landfill.
Correct. But you have to understand why they were looking to expand the landfill. So there's a company called Wheelabrator. They're at Poughkeepsie, New York, and they have places all over the East Coast, but Poughkeepsie is where the home is. So they came to Luis Alvarez, who was the chairman before me, and they offered to take our trash. We currently pay $17 million a year to cart our trash.
No, we're going to get to that.
Okay. Right. We're going to get to the Wheelabrator part? No.
We're going to get to Wheelabrator.
Okay.
But so we considered expanding the landfill.
Yes.
My 2 times ago, predecessor, Sam Yasgur, worked for about 2 years to get the permit.
Till his dying day.
Literally.
Literally.
And on the eve of getting the permit, the then legislature decided, we were just kidding. We don't really want to expand.
We really don't want to do that.
Right.
Correct.
So that left us with a piece of property that bordered a landfill.
Correct.
And a piece of property that had been sold called the Apollo Plaza that was part plaza, part landfill.
Correct.
And
I believe it's more landfill today than...
Probably more landfill. And you actually negotiated a sale of what was going to be the expansion.
Correct.
And that was to Apple Ice.
Correct.
And they're going to create jobs and manufacturing there.
They're creating ice manufacturing there, and that will create jobs in the long haul.
Right. So now that we've capped our landfill, Sullivan County still creates garbage.
100,000 tons a year.
So that garbage has to be disposed of someplace.
Just so you know, so it's broken down into 2 categories. It's C&D, which is, construction debris mostly, and MSW, which is household garbage.
Municipal solid waste.
Basically.
It's
what restaurants, hospitals, your household produce.
So that takes us upstate about 5 hours to a place called Seneca Meadows.
Correct.
And Seneca Meadows is a privately owned landfill.
Correct.
That has now created an economy in that county, accepting garbage from really all over the state.
A third of New York City's garbage goes there. All of Orange County's garbage goes there. I believe all of Ulster. I don't know anyone else, but I know that those people go there.
So we know, you mentioned it before, that when you put trash in a landfill in the ground, it decomposes.
Well, it's actually not in the ground anymore. It's even worse than that. The Seneca Meadow pile is now as tall as the Statue of Liberty.
Okay. So that trash that's there in the pile decomposes.
Yes.
And when it decomposes, it gives off methane gas.
That is correct.
All right. Methane gas is 84 times more destructive to the ozone than is carbon dioxide.
That's a medical, scientific fact.
So what we have now is trash that's doing more damage to the environment than really anything else we have, than cars or cows or anything else.
Besides burning barrels, that is the worst thing you could possibly do.
And there you've got a concentration, so it might be even worse than somebody with a burn barrel in Coshecton.
Now here's the worst part about Seneca Meadows. Their lease is up in 2 years.
Right.
They are going to close unless someone steps in, and New York City is pitching against them doing this. And New York City, as we know, holds most of the power in the New York Assembly and Senate.
And to be clear for our audience again, New York State is not issuing new landfill permits.
They are not.
Because New York State knows how destructive landfills are to the environment.
You're correct.
And this is certainly an environmentally conscious
It took us
state.
3 years to get a composting, which they encourage you to do,
Right.
License. So if it took us 3 years as a county to get a composting license, what do you think it's going to take to get a landfill license?
So they're just not going to be offered.
No.
I mean, we knew that. We worked very closely with Senator Martucci's office,
Correct.
and they told us that's simply not going to happen.
Don't even waste your time.
So you said that the county pays how much a year for the privilege of trucking our garbage up to Seneca Meadows?
$17 million.
$17 million a year. And about a third of our garbage can be composted or recycled naturally.
Correct.
So one of the things that your administration did was direct our Director of Public, our Commissioner of Public Works, to develop a composting program. And you worked with the Commissioner then of Sustainable Energy, Heather Brown, to put that together.
Correct.
And we worked with the Department of Environmental Conservation to get that put together.
Correct.
And with as conscious as our state is, and as much as they encourage composting, and I know that there's lots of folks throughout the county that voluntarily compost.
Alan Sorensen does.
Well, there you go.
I know that for a fact.
So I know that my sister does, and I know that many members of my family do, because they can use it for fertilizer around the property and whatnot.
Sure.
Okay. With that, with all those things going for us, you just said it took 3 years for us to get a permit, and we've now started a pilot program composting.
Right. Until you really get into the restaurant part of it, you're really not going to get to that 30% that we're looking for.
Right. But that would have allowed us, ideally, to reduce the amount of trash that we're trucking up there, paying
Correct.
by the ton.
Correct.
Reduce the cost to the county, which the county has now, at a premium, passed on to the taxpayers.
Correct.
And be more environmentally conscious.
I would argue that my administration was the most environmentally conscious administration there's ever been in the Sullivan County.
So I recall that one of the initiatives that you directed department heads to work on was you wanted to hear from every alternative that is available because, as you mentioned, Seneca Meadows is closing likely in 2 years.
Correct.
So we need to find an alternative.
Correct.
Or else we have no place to bring our trash.
Well, there will be places to bring your trash. You can bring it down to Alabama, which I believe is $400 a ton. We currently pay $150. Or you can bring it to Vancouver, which I believe is $700 a ton.
And that extra cost is going to have to be eaten up by the county's budget.
Well, it's it's going to affect everybody, taxpayer and non-taxpayer. If you live in Evergreen, they pay to have the garbage carted. If you live in the Village of Liberty, they pay. If you live in the town of Fallsburg, they pay to have the garbage carted. If you live in a home, private home, you pay to. Everyone's going to pay the price. Your bill is going to go up a minimum of 3 times of what it is now, more likely 6 times.
And the county's bill goes from $17 million to maybe upwards of $40 to $45 million.
Oh, no, it's going to go higher than that.
And that has to be paid for by the county. One way or another,
Correct.
That has to be paid for. And whether people pay it in their carting bill or whether people pay it in their tax bill,
Correct.
People are going to have to pay it.
Oh, you're paying the price.
So one of the initiatives that you insisted on was we need to look at every option that we have.
Correct.
And one of the options, and you mentioned it before, but I wanted to, for our audience's benefit, I wanted to set the foundation so that people understand why it is that we're doing this.
Correct.
One of the options was a company called Wheelabrator.
Well, so I didn't deal with Wheelabrator.
Well, I understand that, but that was one of the options. So why don't you explain what Wheelabrator was all about?
Okay, so Wheelabrator, there's other companies that do this, but Wheelabrator came to the county in the waning days of the administration before my administration.
Like 2018,
yeah,
that time frame.
It was 2019 that they came. It was right before the election, got underway.
Right.
And they sat down with Josh Posick and Ed McAndrew, and they offered to take our garbage from us for free, okay, eliminating the $17 million cost to the county. Then we were going to get so they burn garbage for energy, which is a very popular thing. And when people say, oh, I don't want you burning garbage, but then they'll talk about the Danish model, they'll talk about the European models, they'll talk about the German model. 95% of the garbage gets burnt of what's left. They do recycle heavy in those models. And you are left with a very small amount of garbage, and that gets burnt, and it comes out of the stack as basically a mist. It comes at almost nothing. The EPA is on site in all these locations that currently have it. But anyway, so they were then going to sell us back and go into the landfill, the second phase.
Well,
of the
they weren't
landfill.
going to sell it to us. They were going to pay us to take it back.
Yeah. They were going to pay us our regular dumping fees to dump inert dirt, basically.
Right.
And we were going to make money on the deal, yes. Besides eliminating our $17 million cost, we were going to make money on the deal of them dumping inert dirt, basically.
Now, let me just interject this for our audience. We enjoy getting feedback on our show. We want to hear your input on the things that Rob and I are speaking about or our guests. And we want to remind you that you can reach out for us you can send us an email to eyeonsullivan@gmail.com. And again, my children reminded me when they first looked at it, they typed in ION Sullivan, but it's EYE eyeonsullivan@gmail.com. And we want to encourage our audience to give us that feedback and let us know what you think of the show, and let us know what topics you'd like Rob and I or any of our guests to discuss. We've got some guests coming up the next couple of shows, so we think that the show is really taken off. And we really thank the folks here at Bowl Gold who have done just a tremendous job with this studio here and of helping us put this show together. So let's go back now. So now, what happens with Wheelabrator? That sounds like a terrific deal. They're gonna take our garbage,
Correct,
and they're gonna process it, and they're gonna pay us to take the inert soil back, which would have gone into that expanded landfill.
correct.
And so the legislature voted that down?
No. Mr. Alvarez, the chairman at the time, didn't even bring it to the legislature. He decided on his own that was a bad idea, and he wouldn't even bring it to the legislature. Didn't even tell them about it.
All right, so that now takes us to 2020.
Correct.
A new administration is sworn in, and you insist that particularly the Department of, or the Division of Public Works, start to bring to you whatever alternatives may be available.
Correct.
Because we now have this figurative slingshot pointed at our heads of a 4 to 5 time increase in the cost of processing our trash.
So one of the things I quickly realized was that our capacity for handling garbage, our capacity was shrinking because the garbage was really, really growing. As the summer business in this county was growing, our garbage was growing exponentially. It got to the point where the agencies that handle garbage was telling us, we don't care if the line of trucks on Broadway that are trying to dump their garbage, if they all don't get in on a Friday, we don't care. They need to get offline and hold on to their garbage till Monday morning.
Right, so the rule is when folks come in and use our transfer station in
Correct.
Monticello,
Correct.
the commercial carters, they come and literally dump the trash on a floor.
Correct.
And then there are front-end loaders that load these trucks that people see running up the highway,
MBI
a couple of
trucks,
thousand, the MBI trucks, a couple of thousand a year.
27
just
tons at a time.
Right. And if at the end of the day, if that floor is not clean, that's a violation that the DEC
well,
would
there's
impose.
a weight limit that we're allowed to dump on a daily basis. At the
Right.
time, there was a weight limit, and the floor had to be clean at the end of the day.
And it's a 5-hour one-way drive up to Seneca Meadows.
Correct. So we had a major problem. So one of the things that I work closely with the county attorney's office, and you being the county attorney, was to get the agency to agree to let us leave the garbage on the floor and to be able to take all the garbage that's lined up. Because the last thing we wanted was them to then have full trucks driving around the county, because you knew that, I know, you know, everyone knows they're going to dump it somewhere.
Sure.
Right? They're going to dump it somewhere, and it's going to create a huge...
This is the commercial carters.
Correct.
Right.
They're going to dump it somewhere, okay? Because they want to start their Monday morning. They're in business. They want to pick up garbage on Monday morning. They don't want to have to go back in line. So some of the things that we did was we allowed them to... We got them to increase the limit. We got them to let the floor be dirty at the end of the day.
As long as it was covered.
As long as it was covered. We then got an easy pass system at the dump. So it used to be at the Monticello transfer station, which we call the dump, but nothing's really getting dumped into the mountains there. It's all in one building. You would have to pull your truck up. You'd get out of your car. You'd go over to the window. They'd give you a number. You'd go back, you'd dump it, you'd come back, get out of your truck again, hand in your number, and then they'd hand you a slip and say, this is what your truck, just dumped. You say, okay. We changed that to a more of an easy pass system where you came up, you have a number on your truck, they recognize the number, you go, you dump, you go, you get back on the scale, they recognize the number, and you leave. Doesn't sound like a lot, but it's saving 2-3 minutes on 100 trucks. Okay, it adds up, and we were able to reduce the problem pretty quickly so that everyone could dump their garbage, because we did not want field dumping and that type of stuff going on.
And then at the other end, at Seneca Meadows, and you mentioned it before, we had a problem because sometimes the trucks would get up there, and this is a massive facility. They would sometimes wait on line for 2 or 3 hours to dump, and through your leadership, we negotiated what's called hook and go.
Correct.
Which means you would pull in with the trailer.
Correct.
You would drop the trailer, pick up an empty trailer.
Correct.
And go.
Correct.
You would hook the empty trailer and go.
So CDL drivers only have so many hours that they can drive a day. Okay? So the problem was they were not being able to do 2 loops in a day. Okay? They were getting held up at Seneca Meadows. And there was not enough truck drivers, as we all know. That's a big issue in Sullivan County. That's why Sullivan County Community College started the CDL program,
right? Because
there's a need for them. So they were able to then drive up there, let it go, weigh it, let it go, grab another trailer, go, and then make it back in a day, and then be able to do two trips in a day, which saved the MBI money and saved us money as a county.
So that was the short-term solution, to be able to run more loads up there in a day.
Well, that we were working on that issue while working on the long-term issue.
Correct. So that was the short-term of what you did. And then let's enter now a company called Covanta.
Correct.
And what is Covanta?
So Covanta has 43 plants, 3 of them in the state of New York, 1 in Long Island, 1 in Buffalo, and 1 in Syracuse. Right. Covanta goes by basically the Danish model. They are a recycling plant. Their plant down in Long Island is next to a condo building across the street from malls. You don't even know that they're there. It's unbelievable. It's an unbelievable facility.
And they handle 1 million tons a year out of that facility.
Correct. So put in perspective, we generate 100,000 tons, okay? But we're growing at a rapid rate. So you would look to build a facility that could do 500,000-600,000 tons, because we're going to grow into that. Trust me, we're going to grow into that. So what they do is they break everything down, right? So they do true recycling, unlike other places where, like let's say you put it on the side of the road now and you recycle, they're just throwing it all in the same pile when it gets to the...
Well, there's no market for most of what we recycle.
Correct, because it's not clean recyclable.
Covanta, it all goes in, your tomatoes and your cardboard go in the same place. Their facility is able to separate everything.
Correct.
By automation.
Correct. I mean, they take the wood out. They take they separate everything for you. In this gigantic plant, they have people on site measuring the smoke that comes out from the burning. I think they recycle something like 90% of what they take in.
Well, 90% of what they take in, and I'll just give an interesting fact for our audience here. They have these super strong magnets, and the magnets go through and pull out metal.
This is a crazy story.
Because metal, there's a market for metal, so they can sell that for a good profit. Annually, at the Covanta plant in Roosevelt, Long Island, they pull out some coins. What you and I put in the sofa, they pull out some coins.
Correct.
$6 million a year worth of coins they pull out of the garbage pile at Covanta.
Is that crazy?
$6 million
of coins.
It's incredible.
But then what they burn, they generate energy out of.
That's right.
And they can light up their whole town.
So they generate 75 megawatts of electric annually out of 1 million tons.
Yeah.
That's more electric than our entire county burns. Not just the county government,
correct,
but all the government, all the county.
Correct.
So if you downscale that by, say, half, 500, you're going to have the plant not only take care of our trash,
correct,
not only create jobs,
Correct.
not only cut down on $40 million a year that the county has to spend to deliver it someplace, not only eliminate the methane gas, not to mention what 3,000-4,000 tractor trailers a year going up and down right through Sullivan County. And remember, Rockland uses that Seneca
Orange
Meadows,
uses them.
Orange use it.
The city
so
does.
not only are we trucking our trucks up the highway, but we're trucking Orange and Rockland and New York City are coming right up through Sullivan County.
I'm telling you right now,
well.
you could stand on any, anywhere, like go down to Wurtsboro and just go on one of those overpasses, and you sit there, right? Go there at 5 o'clock in the morning, and I'll pay you $100 an hour till you get to 50 trucks. I will not be paying you $100.
No, it's incredible.
The trucks that roll up and down pre the time that the troopers get on duty is fascinating to me.
So in addition to all that,
yeah,
we could create enough electric
correct
that would cut down the cost. Certainly the county's electric bill would be near zero.
Correct.
And with someone like Heather Brown handling sustainable energy with the great work that she does with our hydroelectric plants, with that, the cost of delivering electricity to a county that has lots of natural gas running through it, but we can't tap it,
correct,
would be another kind of tangent benefit to all the people here in the county.
Not only that, one of the problems that we face as a county currently is our ability to grow because NYSEG cannot give enough electricity to us. This would open up the floodgates to be able to grow as a county and be able to bring more business and more commercial entities to the county because there would be enough electricity for them to
Now,
grow.
we use we're about 100,000 tons a year. It's certainly going up. As we see development in this county, it's going to continue to rise.
Correct.
So to get to that 400,000 or 500,000 tons that we talked about, that would mean either asking our residents and our visitors to create more trash.
We don't want to do that.
We don't want to do that. So we're talking about importing trash. I know it's a dirty word, but we talk about importing trash. But what would be the benefit of allowing Covanta to build a 500,000-ton facility to help out Ulster or Orange County? Why do we want their trash?
Because we get a host fee.
Yeah.
That remember this term, host fee. So let's say the dumping fee is $150, and we say, well, as the host, we think we should get 50 of that. Okay, and they say, okay, we agree with you, right? And then you get $50 a ton for every ton that's dumped. That goes through their processing plant.
Now we have Mount Trash in Monticello.
We do,
and we've got what was the landfill is now capped,
which by the way could be eliminated.
And I want you to talk about that because we actually mentioned that to the leadership of Covanta about reclaiming that property, and what did we find out?
That it can be done, and they've done it in other places. Again, they have 43 plants in the United States, and then they have plants in Europe as well. And the funny thing is that right now, speaking with Ed McAndrew, most of that is dirt. Just so you know, we were way overcautious, which is a good thing in this situation. They put, you were supposed to put a foot of dirt on top of each days, and we put like 3-4 feet. So a lot of that is just dirt up there. But think about all the recyclables that are, batteries and everything else, metals and everything that's still in there that are perfectly usable because it's sealed, that you could recapture.
Yeah. So that land would then potentially be usable land.
And then the land would be usable land again.
So when the concept came up of processing garbage or burning garbage, there was, of course, a couple of people that showed up at meetings, and they had advocated a zero trash concept.
It's unrealistic.
And I know you did a lot of research into this because, again,
yes, I did.
Your instruction to the commissioners and to the county attorney's office was, I want to look at every alternative to creating methane gas by putting trash in the ground and having all these trucks running up our highways.
Correct.
And so you, I know, did some research yourself into this zero trash. Sounds like a great idea, zero trash.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great idea, but you'd have to get every manufacturer in the world. I mean, our biggest retail store in this county is Walmart. You ever see how much, the packaging is they have there? I mean, the funny thing is they eliminated bags in New York State, but, you can buy a gallon of milk, a pound of cheese, and
12-pack of Coca-Cola,
12-pack of
or
Coca-Cola,
Pepsi.
And some cold medicine, and that all has plastic, right? So you didn't eliminate any plastic. You eliminated a flimsy little bag. I mean, it's not realistic. Zero trash just does not work. I let me tell you, friends of mine who tend to be liberal. Say you're, in conversation, they're always like, you're more liberal on this issue than I am. And I'm like, I want to believe that you could do that, but you cannot do it. It's not realistic.
So, okay, what you're saying then, Rob, is that if Chairman Reich contacted Coca-Cola and told them, we want only glass bottles sold in this county, we will not take your plastic bottles, Coke, I'm sure, would retool their entire worldwide facilities to accommodate Sullivan County.
Who?
Where?
Who are you? What? Okay. Talk to Walmart. Okay.
And McDonald's, they'd stop wrapping their food in styrofoam.
No doubt.
No doubt.
No. So
that's why it's unrealistic.
So they stopped with the single-use styrofoam.
Right.
But then they have this hard plastic that they use now, which I think is worse.
Sure.
I mean, it doesn't, compact as well. It doesn't disintegrate as well. I mean, you're being unrealistic. We're putting a Band-Aid, on a gashing wound. I mean, it's crazy talk to me. You have to have a logical, reasonable way to go about this, and the way to do it is invest in services like Covanta, who, is a private industry. They'd be more than happy to come here and be supported by a county.
And they were willing to build at where our landfill was, which is area that I don't know what else you're going to build there other than a processing plant.
Correct. So not only that, Michael, if you remember in the conversation, they said it would take us about 3 years to get a permit.
Yeah, well, but you said Seneca Meadows is going to close in 2, so that won't work.
Oh, it will work, Michael.
How's that?
Because we negotiated a deal that they would take our garbage until they can build the plant. So we would have a place to go with our garbage.
Which would be Syracuse or Rochester or Long Island.
Or Long Island. They would break it up and bring it to wherever they had to bring it to, and the county would not suffer another rise in carting costs. So
when you left office a year ago, that's where we were at.
Correct.
And now, a year later, are we any closer to a deal with Covanta or anyone else?
No.
Have we had any hearings to look at other alternatives? I'm sure they're out there.
No.
All right. So now, you said that what we did was we had an increase in cost that's going to affect every person in Sullivan County.
$30 a ton. Correct.
Now we have the what we call the landfill, but we know it's a capital landfill.
Correct.
And transfer station
it's
in
a
Monticello.
Station, essentially.
But not everything goes to Monticello.
No. So there are, I believe, 5, 6, 7. I believe there's 9 transfer stations in the county of Sullivan. So you have obviously the big one in Thompson. You have another very large one in Ferndale, okay? Then you have Mamakated, Highland, Rockland, Coshecton, and Calhoun are county-run ones. And then you have town-run ones in Bethel and Neversink. And the difference in those is the towns run their own in the town of Bethel and the town of Neversink, and they lose about. I spoke to Daniel Stern, the supervisor in Bethel, and I spoke to Chris Matthews, the supervisor in Never Sink, and they lose each about $25,000 a year running their landfill, but it's for the town only, okay? The other 5 run by the county, because you have to eliminate Liberty and Thompson because they are monster facilities, and you could not expect a town to run them.
Right.
Okay. But the other 5 lose about $100,000 a year each. So I've asked the question several times, why are we running these facilities at a $100,000 loss when the towns, if they want a transfer station so bad in their town, you can run it. And you can obviously run it more efficiently than the county can run it, because we're losing 100, the towns are losing 25. And we have better days in the towns. And we take care of our snow plowing, we take care of all this. So you had 2 legislators, one in Brian McPhillips and one in Matt McPhillips, who voted to raise your carting cost by $30 a ton, but let in Brian's case Never Sink and in Matt's case Bethel keep paying the cost, but the residents of those towns are now picking up the higher costs for all other towns
when they're much more efficiently operating their own facility.
So why would you let, if you have a facility in Never Sink and Bethel, and Matt represents Bethel and Brian represents Never Sink, why would you let them pick up the cost of the rest of the county? You're already taking care of your business. Why do you have to pick up the cost for the rest of the county? So Calhoun, Mamakaden, Coshecton, Rockland, and Highland, they're losing money. So why, as a Bethel resident, do I have to pay a higher fee for other townships when my town is already taking care of their business?
Not to mention that, but if you've ever been to the transfer station in Never Sink or the transfer station in Bethel on a Saturday morning, that's the place to be in those towns. I mean, everybody is there. In fact, so much so that if you're not at a pancake breakfast and you want to see a politician that's running, go to the transfer station in Never Sink or Bethel if they're running in that area or if they're running countywide, because you'll probably see them there on a Saturday because literally everyone is there. Correct. And that's because, as you pointed out, the Ferndale transfer station and the Monticello or Thompson transfer station, those are where we handle a lot of the commercial stuff. Correct. A lot of the commercial carters, Thompson Sanitation, Reber, them, the Village of Liberty, the Village of Monticello, they use those. Correct. And then Bethel and Mamakaden, Coshecton, that's more people like yourself in the town of Bethel that on Saturday morning, the bags go in the back of your father-in-law's pickup truck and off you go to the transfer station.
Correct.
So they become social places.
Correct. They're very social places. But why are we letting these 5 townships continue to have county run at a loss? Why aren't we, saying to these 5 townships, hey, if you want a transfer station, we'll give you the facility and you run it yourself? Because we as the taxpayers from the whole county shouldn't be taking a $500,000 loss on your transfer station.
So Rob, from an environmental standpoint now,
yes,
we know what we're doing currently.
Which is the second to worst thing you could be doing.
But incinerating it maybe is the worst. I mean, you see they burning it, and so we know the discharge from what they're burning is releasing all these toxins into the air.
It doesn't work like that. So they have these things called scrubbers.
Right.
Okay. And people from the EPA and
the DEC
have offices in Covanta. And they monitor.
They have sensors right at the top of the stacks.
Correct. To see how the smell and how much smoke is coming out. And it's basically a squirt of water.
It's water vapor. The only thing coming out is water vapor.
Correct.
We had a chance to visit the facility in Long Island, and maybe this isn't a lot for Long Island, but there's $500,000 condos that are, it's a road away. It's 50 feet away.
Correct.
And you've got an upscale shopping center 50 feet the other way, and when you park in that parking lot, you don't smell anything.
You don't even know it's
You
there.
don't see anything. And yet, when you go inside, you see this massive pile of trash. It's so impressive. You see a big garbage truck pulling in, and it looks like a Tonka toy compared to this mountain of trash. And it's processed 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And we're not here to advocate for Covanta. The important message for our audience today is that the clock is ticking.
So I've been talking about this openly for 4 years, now 5 years. Okay, I've been talking about this openly for 5 years. This legislature did go and visit Covanta one time, and then nothing moved forward on it. This legislature has been all about inaction. And the way we got into this problem was through inaction last time. They were taking in garbage. I believe that was 4 legislatures ago. They took in garbage, and we were losing money on them taking in the garbage. And they then, to make up the money, they had a garbage tax that went on your bill, which I ended, I believe, 2 years early, because I was very much against taxes. But the only thing this legislature has done, and I'm not sitting here and it's not sour grapes, I'm just telling you the facts. They raised your taxes by 2.54%, the highest it's been in over 5 years. They have a $3 million surplus in sales tax. And then they reached in your pocket one more time and took out $1.9 million above the $11 cost. So they went above and beyond taking money out of your pocket. They sit on an $87 million fund balance. What are they doing with the money?
And to be clear, this county currently generates more revenue through sales tax than through property tax.
That's correct.
So it's mid-January now. We're all recovering from our holiday shopping and getting those credit card bills. And, of course, we had to get a greeting card from the county, which is our property tax. And we've discussed several times, and we'll continue to discuss on Eye On Sullivan, the property tax situation and how what an impediment it is to economic development in this county. And yet, taxes are raising and fees are raising.
So 4 years ago when Joe Biden first went into office, I said then openly in a meeting, and I'll say it again, fees and inflation are hidden taxes. They're still taken away at your dollar, okay? So if the average person, is making X amount, let's say the average salary in Sullivan County is $40,000, okay? If someone's taking, an extra, 10% of that money out of your pocket, no one could afford a $4,000 fee for something. But if inflation and fees are taking it, and you have no say in it, and I don't care where you live, if garbage fees go up, it's coming out of something. Your rent's going up, something's going up, because they have to pay it. I believe Monticello just issued an 8.1% tax increase, and now they need to raise their taxes again.
Well, maybe they can pay the county back for the East Broadway project.
Well, that was under Mr. Nicolatis, who then told Josh, remember, I never agreed to that.
Right.
Josh, I have the emails. I didn't write those emails. Okay, George.
So, folks, we are all aware that Sullivan County is an environmentally conscious, and we generate a lot of our revenue through tourism and through environmental tourism. So we're very aware of that.
Correct, and it's very important to some members. In fact, in the last budget I voted on, we had put $65,000 in there for water testing. So any municipality that wanted to test the water in their town, whether it be a lake, a pond, a stream, they can go to the county. They can get a grant to a small grant, and you could do water testing on a regular basis on a body of water to see if the water was clean.
What's important here, folks, is we know that there are differing views on dealing with trash, and people get very concerned when we talk about incinerating garbage or processing it, and maybe it's better to just get it out of here and it be someone else's problem. We here at Eye On Sullivan, we want to hear from those other views. We'll bring you on to talk about some alternatives. We want to hear of all the alternatives, but the clock is ticking, and soon the county's going to be confronting a very substantial situation. So I would ask you again, drop us a line at eyeonsullivan@gmail.com. That's EYE on Sullivan@gmail.com. And Rob, this is certainly an important issue to the county, it's an important issue to the state, and it's an important issue to the federal government. We see what's happening out in California, and environmental issues are very important. And I know that your administration was sensitive to it, the state of New York is sensitive to it, and it is important to all of us. So again, folks, drop us a line at eyeonsullivan@gmail.com. We want to hear what your thoughts are on this trash issue. Rob, any last-minute thoughts?
No. I mean, I know that when I brought the topic up, people stood up at meetings and said, you're way off base, you're wrong in what you're saying. But 2 years after some of those meetings, we're still carting garbage and doing the second worst thing you could possibly do with it. We have not fixed our problem.
So, folks, once again, from Bold Gold Studios here in the Liberty Theater building in downtown Liberty, New York, we want to thank our guest engineer today, Paul Siliberto, for joining us here on Eye On Sullivan. Again, we want to hear from you at eyeonsullivan@gmail.com. Rob, thanks again for your insights. We'll be back next week with another edition of Eye On Sullivan. Thanks, folks.